Welcome back everybody to New Zealand Skimboarding Association newsletter number 18, simply titled The Best Skim in New Zealand. Now after our very recent trip to Great Barrier Island, which is in the Outer Hauraki Gulf of course, I felt compelled to basically put this newsletter together saying, and my claim of where the best place in New Zealand is to skim. So here is a bit of a brief rundown of the island. There's plenty of content floating about. You can find all the other video links in the description below and they'll be annotated at the end. But first of all, let's get straight into it. Getting there. How do we get to Great Barrier Island? Well, SeaLink runs a year-round ferry service, which is quite slow. It does take 4.5 hours, which leaves from the Auckland waterfront, but this does run year-round and is very reliable. Cheap as well. The only restriction there is probably the time. It's certainly a bit longer duration to really be going just for a weekend. And then of course the other alternatives are the quicker ferries that run over the summer season, as well as of course flying. Now flying is far quicker, but of course a lot more expensive, and you're far more restricted as to what you can actually take because they don't let you load in 10 boards each and things like that. So that's something to keep in mind when it comes to getting there. Staying there. Well, there is multiple varieties of accommodation there. Anything ranges from dock campgrounds all the way through to renting houses, lodges. We stayed at Backpackers the last couple of years, which this year we are very happy to stay at Crossroads Backpackers in Claris, which is very spacious rooms, great accommodation. One thing to note of course when picking a place is to be aware that the island doesn't actually have mains power. Now what this means is that everything's solar and generator, so a lot of the houses that you rent aren't just walk in, flick a switch on, things like that, which is something to keep in mind for those of you out there who are probably a little bit more fussy. Of course, skim. Now that's the reason why we're here. This is a very brief rundown. Tryphena which is on the western side of the island where the ferry goes into, has probably some of, if not the best flatland skim in the country. Big tidal pools, no shells, perfect long tide durations. There's nothing you could ask for more from the flatland skim available at Tryphena. There's also some other creek and estuary inlets that have brilliant flatland skim as well, but Tryphena is certainly the best. And of course wave skim. Now there's 3 different beaches to pick from. For wave skim, which is Awana, Kaitoki and Medlands. Medlands was the best last year, Kaitoki was the best this year. So there's always plenty of options, varying sizes. That again is just, there's always swell over there, so that's something to keep in mind. Nowhere over there holds a huge one, but it does hold some very good size and some very powerful heavy skim. Of course surf. Now we spent a lot of time surfing there this year. The barrier is probably not underrated but under advertised, we'll say, and has world-class beach breaks. I don't want to go into too much detail with this, but there's some absolutely incredible surf over there and it's an absolute swell magnet, so we will keep that brief. Outside activities. Now for those of you who aren't keen on skimming all day every day, there's multiple tracks. There's the Mount Hobson climb, there's basically walking tracks all over the island which stretch tip to tail. It's a very outdoorsy island, so for those of you who like the indoors and want to go to shopping malls, it's certainly probably not the place for you, but there's spearfishing, there's fishing, there's basically anything you can think of that involves the outdoors over there. The barrier has it. 2016, of course, next year's trip. Now we're going to go much bigger, better, at the same time of the year. It's actually the first week of the school holidays. First school holidays in April, and we're going to try to run a proper event over there next year, run the coaching with the youth centre as we've done a few times now, and basically get a lot more involved with the island. Hopefully a few of you guys out there will come, so keep your eye for details late this year regarding that. Last but not least, coming up in the next wee while, we're going to see a restructuring of this channel as well as a launch of another one, which is probably going to run all the vlogs and the kind of behind the scenes through the second channel. So this channel here will run with a bit more of a stricter sort of format and just overall structuring of it. And as well as, of course, Queen's birthday, which is coming up very shortly, there's going to be either a trip to Bay of Plenty or a trip to Northland. Undecided yet. It's probably going to be decided on the week, purely for the weather and the conditions permitting. So that is it for the month. Of course, if you don't agree with me on this and think that the Great Barrier is the best place to skim in the country, drop a comment below and you tell me where that spot is, because this is an overall variety, consistency sort of thing. The Great Barrier is, as far as I'm concerned, the best place in New Zealand to go skimboarding. So keep an eye out for further details coming up. We will be dropping a barrier best of, and of course, come on the trip next year. I am Sam Price. I will see you at the beach.